Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Al Gore, once again, welcome to Inside the Firm. I have a question for you.
I have an answer.
It's not how are you doing. It is why. Where's this global warming? And I need to know why Northern Arizona is getting record snowfall.
It's on the back burner.
Yep,
pun intended.
And this is a shout out to Earl Parson, by the way, who's my Facebook friend. He's a listener of the podcast, and it looks like they're getting a crazy amount of snow in northern Arizona, which is not typical, like records amount. And for the record, also, I don't believe that there isn't global warming. This is just a joke.
Yeah. And then also, weighing into this is craziness. Weighing into anything. Oh, so I was this goes along with what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it is insane that we're seeing like weather like this, I think.
I was at the insulated concrete form. You know,
ICF.
Yep. The meeting.
Yep.
A couple weeks ago, their conference, and Al Gore. I get a lot of jokes because of my names and global warming, and I go. My personal view is, it'll go up, it'll go down, all that. But I'm actually concerned about pollution. If anything, we should have a factual analysis about is pollution. Is pollution going up? Is it going down? Is it affecting people's health? What can we do about it? Right? And I expect that to be really uncontroversial, right? Normally, you don't want polluted air. Who wants polluted air? It drew crickets from two of these concrete people. And then they had some methane joke about
you
cows.
said this, and
I said that,
and it drew crickets from them.
Not the normal. I feel like the normal response would be we don't want pollution. That's okay. And it was one of these backhanded comments against cows cause most of the methane and all that. I'm like, who's eating the cows? Why do you think there's so many cows? I didn't say any of that, but I was like, holy cow, this is a tough crowd here.
You were hoping for a joke.
No, I was just hoping for that makes sense. We should know how much pollution is in the air and if we're causing too much or not.
Yeah. That seems like a non-controversial statement.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is once you're an architect, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But now that we've taken this development leap and are on site and seeing it firsthand almost daily, the amount of waste from construction sites and people in the industry already know this. If you're an architect, chances are you have an environmental design degree. So you've already been deeply immersed in this, in the whole green movement and stuff. But it is astounding to see how much waste. And then there's also the other thing of okay, how do we build these buildings? Man, it takes a lot of oil. There's a lot of gas, a lot of diesel, a lot of that. So think about the formwork. They literally put an agent on the forms to help release it from the concrete that is petroleum based. We're not getting around this stuff. We have to. There's a reality to the situation, right?
Yep.
And I think efficiency has always been at the forefront of where I go as an architect and just a human being about why can't we concentrate on the efficiency of everything, right? So can we reduce waste? Can we make everything more efficient? Can we use all these valuable natural resources? Nobody's making any more land. Literally, there is some volcanoes are, but not
if
money.
Global cooling happens, all the ice will go. So we could get some more land. Global cooling.
Oh, okay. We could actually, right. Global warming, you could get more land too because it's all the permafrost, right? It's going away, and then it's exposing the land.
Oh yeah, up north. But
pluses and minuses, ladies and gentlemen. Pluses and minuses.
I vote warmer. That's just me. Another joke people were using, right?
Sure.
But first, BIM Marketplace on BIMsmith. If you go to bimsmith.com, if you're designing, that's where you need to be. It pulls all sorts of data from different product lines, letting you filter from UL ratings, fire rating, master spec, master CSI, master format, and other criteria you might need for your project. So, as you know, these buildings are very, very complicated. And you might know that you want a wood wall or you want a metal wall. But That's not the driving factor. The driving factor might be the UL rating, the fire rating essentially. Or your whole system might be set up by master format, CSI spec. So you can search that way. You can search the way that you work, and that's how they help you out. So go to bimsmith.com. You have to log in. It's free. It's free.
Why aren't you going there?
Reason why I asked the guys, because I know the guys. I go, why do you have a login? Like, well, we have a place where if you like these walls, you can save them towards your project so that they're always being there. And you'll have a folder, and then you'll have another one. I go, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. I like that.
Very cool.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a big thanks not only to BIMsmith, but to Vlad Lefter of architecturequote.com. Al, did you know that we are on the list of the best 71 podcasts for architects? First of all, I didn't know that there were 71 podcasts for architects. I thought we were one of the select few of a handful, but apparently there are a ton of them. So we'll include this in the show notes links. But we were number 29 on the list. We're going to keep on moving up.
We're going to get to 10.
We're going to get to the top 10. And I want to give a shout out to some. So first of all, shout out to Vlad. Where I'm going to try to actually have him on the show for a short interview. We exchanged some messages in the podcast Facebook website. So you should take a look at those two out, because I think there's some good stuff we can ask him. But a quick shout out to Young Architect Podcast, number 1 on the list. That is huge.
Good for them.
Good for them. Entre Architect, Mark LePage, number 2.
Top notch.
Number 3, Archie Speak. And then there's some more, but I've never met these folks, so I'd hesitate to give them a shout out. But for the top 3, we've met all those guys, and they're great.
So if you're listening to this and you're like, man, not only should this podcast be in the top 10, it should probably be at least number 4. You can do something by sharing it with your friends and saying, hey, friends, I've been getting a leg up on you and really just been destroying you because of this podcast.
My business has improved 1,000% because of this
1,000%.
podcast. Yeah.
Start at 0. Work your way up. Mm-hmm. Shout out to my brother who listens to the podcast, Corey. He was just in town. He drives to Wisconsin to do his job. And he's like, I just want to listen to your Al. No, he didn't say that at all. He just
want to listen to your Al voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last thing before we truly jump into the podcast is Inside the Firm is headed to AIA conference this year. Half of Inside the Firm podcast.
The worst half.
Yep, the worst half. Lance will be going with his wife and meeting up with Nicholas with Nick Reeds, and we'll be doing a special podcast. But also, we will be at the BIMsmith booth I'll be conducting interviews with hopefully some of the top named, some of the most prominent architects and leaders in the industry.
Yep.
I'm going to start sending out, get a press release going, get a request for interviews. So if people have somebody that they want me to interview, some architect that you, I want hopefully Jonathan Segal is there. I'm going to try to, I'm going to personally reach out to him because he's actually me and Al's Facebook friend, and see if I can get an interview with him. I think it'd be great. But if any of you listeners have anybody you would like us to interview, who we'll try to get a hold of them all day long. We're not afraid to talk to anybody. So that's June 6th or the 8th. There's plenty of time. Please just message us on Facebook, or you can email me, lmc@f9productions.com, or Al Gore, akg @f9productions.com. Either one, let us know. You can also check out the Inside the Firm community on Facebook. Let us know.
So I won't be there because I'll be having a baby. My wife will probably be doing the majority of the work, but I'll take
of the work.
The majority of the
Al's
credit.
work is already done technically.
I've done it. But I'll throw in an incentive for anyone that wants to go. If you are going, one, it's going to be super fun. You can show up and get free high fives from Nick Renard. I'm going to say Mark LePage, too. Just walk up to him and say, I'm redeeming my free high five.
Yep, Inside the Firm podcast sent me.
Yep, guarantee, and Lance Cayko. So keep your hands high, walk around, see how many high fives you can get. We're dishing them out.
Yep, it's going to be a blast. Al?
What?
I don't know. You're the next bullet point.
No, I'm not.
You're not.
Yes, I am.
All right.
So there's another podcast, NPR, How I Built This. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So it's different firms.
NPR has like the top, like if you go to iTunes and you look at the top ones, they're always like, they have like 10 different podcasts that are in the top 20.
Yeah.
They do good stuff.
So there was one about Southwest, where it was the owner of Southwest was on. I listened to that a while ago. Then one just popped out about JetBlue. And it was really cool. And Southwest bought JetBlue, but I think they still have their name. Anyways, they mentioned an article. This was back maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where
Is JetBlue still around?
maybe Southwest just took over their where it was something like the Wall Street Journal. They looked at similarities of companies that beat expectations, and then they had these 3 points, and they profiled basically JetBlue and Southwest. So one of the major key things that these companies did to beat the competitors is that they were customer centric, right? Really, really focused on the customer. So if you think Southwest, like, that makes a lot of sense. They had flawless execution, right? We won't even name those other airlines that you get on. They already have it overboarded. They're always delayed, and their customer service.
And maybe
is
you're
terrible.
stuck on the tarmac for like 3 hours. Maybe your mom gets stuck on the tarmac for like 3 hours.
Did that
so
happen to
bad.
your mom?
Oh yeah, in Denver.
Oh man. And then they have people in your company who are an ambassador of your brand, right? And that goes back to your culture and what you're doing. And the reason I brought this up is like, okay, what are you doing? Is your firm, whatever it is, and you don't have to be the boss or the leader, but it can be a small architecture firm. You can be in any industry. How are you being customer centric? How are you doing flawless execution? And then if you're doing that, and if you're doing your culture right, are the people in your firm like really happy about it and proliferating it, right? And I have one story to tell about that. So we got a client from this is probably 2-3 months ago, and we were negotiating the contract, right? And they said, we have a limited number of meetings. And they said, hey, can we just erase that? Because this is a big project. I want to make sure, that everything can be taken care of. I don't expect to go too much over that, but, I just don't want to be limited if we see a thing or two and need to change it. And I said, okay, yeah. That was my error, because it wasn't just a meeting or two more. It was a lot more, right? So
Some of those meetings I remember were like 2 hours long.
Yep.
And that's in my world, that's excessive. 1 hour or less.
Yep. So I was we were eating it. We were eating it on the hours. And I've played this game before where, okay, we can go and argue for more fees, right? But a lot of times I had a better stance because we've already limited and defined the scopes, but I agreed to it. So I kind of put myself into this pickle. So instead of letting that eat away at me, and I could have asked for more, and been logical, and they might have been okay with that. But as you've probably noticed, I've noticed, sometimes, man, that leads to really contentious. And they might pay you $1,000 or more, and they might not, right? So it's literally like, are you going to get...
It's a bad precedence.
Yep. Are you going to get an extra $1,000 out of this?
And is it worth it? Is the sour taste in their mouth the entire time you're working with them, and you, for that matter, worth it? It's just not, yeah.
Because then it's like, okay, maybe you want 2,000, 3,000 more, right? But then you only get 1,000 more, so you're not happy anyways. You didn't get what you wanted, right? So anyways, one of my guys was working on the project, and I was working on it, but they were doing the majority of the work, and I was just like, know what? We're just going to do it. We agreed to it. We're going to be professional. We're going to respond quickly. We're just going to take care of it, and everything is okay.
We're going to own the decision and the contract that we've decided to agree to. We're going to own it.
Yep. So we kept doing our, flawless execution, high tempo, getting back to people. And then at the end, I asked the client, hey, can we have a review? And he's like, yeah, let me write something up. He drafted 3 huge paragraphs. Did you see it?
I haven't read it yet.
Oh, okay. So 3 huge paragraphs, right?
I'm waiting to open that little GIF later.
Yeah. And then I said, hey, if you could post it on Google, Thumbtack, and Facebook. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, but you should give me more. Like, I will post it everywhere.
Awesome.
Yep. So I gave him like 5 more to post it. And what's awesome about this is that in that whole thing, the client said something that we knew, like, oh man, they keep having these revisions. He's like, he stated they even put up, well, I can't remember the phrase, with our constant revisions.
I'm like, it's fantastic.
So he's aware of what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that's what we are often looking for. Oftentimes is the client acknowledging that themselves? Do they have some kind of self-awareness? And they do, and I think this is a good reminder for everybody is give your clients some benefit of the doubt if they are being those type that just ask for all of these revisions, and they seem like they never stop thinking and nitpicking and stuff like that, and it's above and beyond sort of what the scope that you had in your mind or whatever. People are hopefully. I just pray that society is self-aware a little bit more than we think they are.
Yeah. So, anyways, we have a good taste in our mouth. They have a good taste in their mouth. It's a good project. We like it. So, and did well.
Good job.
Yeah.
Way to go, Al Gore. Those reviews are so important, man. I can't say it enough. They just go so far. Like by the time I'm in negotiations right now for this really cool. It's cool for the town it's going to go into because it's like a population of 5,000 up in the mountains. So little nothing podunk town, but the building size that this developer is proposing makes it special. And when I asked him how he learned about us and stuff like that, he's like, I don't know, just through the internet. Somehow, you guys' name it's being passed around right now by other developers who are recommending you guys because you guys are developers. And then then I looked up all your ratings, and I just really, really appreciated what everybody had to say about you, and that goes a long way. So once again, when you get to that point and you feel like you've earned that 5-star review, don't hesitate to ask for it. And literally demand it and say, hey, would you please leave us a 5-star review on this? Don't even pussyfoot around it. Just go straight to the actual question, right?
Yeah.
Not like wondering if you can give me your review. No, please go here. Leave me a 5-star review. We much appreciate it. We love working with you.
Yep.
Blah blah blah.
And that goes back to if you listened last week. I made my own tracking metrics, right?
Yep.
Every week that I'm looking at. So
it's a great spreadsheet. I started using it with Gresh now.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Nice.
I think it's good. It's perfect.
Cool.
What even if here's why I really like it is, it's finally like this central place for all the guys to go to, and for them to just be aware of what they're doing, so that we minimize how many things fall through the cracks because we're guilty of it too.
And you know what Gresh just figured out too? He asked me, hey, can I sort everything by date? And I go, well, you can't sort everything by date because then it will mess up people's names and stuff like that. And I was working with him like, okay, just select all your projects and then select it by date. So then he can see at the top of the list, it just automatically goes. He knows, okay, the next thing that's due is this. It's great, man.
It is great because when I went and met with the two gentlemen that are doing most of my projects right now, the ones that I've brought into the firm, it was they were nice, clean, smooth meetings with them, and they knew exactly the rundown of what they wanted to do. So I'm excited for this method.
Yeah, cool. All right, I have a development question for you. Okay, so I feel like the hardest part about almost everything is the connections, right? The connection with what the client wants. When you're building it, the connection between the foundation and the plumbing and everything like that. And this podcast is about being like as transparent as possible. So two-part question. And I won't say my opinion first. What is your opinion of doing slab on grade versus doing a crawl space, right? And then 2, knowing like I was just out at the job site because you had me sheep's foot stamp some stuff down, right?
Jumping jack, not a sheep's foot, but yes.
Yeah.
I was out there doing construction work. It was awesome.
I know.
in his dress clothes. But he had
no. Just pants. Nah, they were jeans.
Al had dress clothes on. They're jeans. They're nice black jeans. Come on.
Yeah.
They're casual, business casual. But then he had his work boots on. It was great.
I know. So here's my question from a bigger perspective: is that the job that I did yesterday? Is that something where the contractor even like? Think about a bigger project, one of the huge projects.
One that's literally 2 blocks away from us that we can look at right now.
Is that something the contractor should have in its plate, or is that something now that you're going through it, and now that you see every single step, you go, oh, I'm going to make sure in the contract that it says that the guy who puts the dirt back is now going to put it at this and stamp it down per these specs. You know what I mean? Like for a smaller project, you're on the ground, you're seeing each little step, and then you're just filling in all the gaps, which is what it's needed to get it done. But you know what I mean? Like
here's how I'll answer that question. So, and then I got to back up a little bit. So everybody should know that we're doing slab on grade construction and they're 3-story townhomes, right? So it's a multifamily development, and so the way it should have worked is we should have had. The problem was we didn't have the plumbing contract signed right away because honestly we had to hold out until almost the last minute to sign them. We had to get 6-7 bids. It was very difficult. However, okay, so let's say we weren't in the hottest market right now. Let's say let's say it's a new development, but we're still going to do the same kind of construction. And this time we have a relationship set up with all these subs. We've already done one project with them, and we know what they should be charging. So from the beginning, then what it should have been is, hey, foundation guys, here's what you're going to do. You're going to form up the foundation. But I want you to hold off on the backfill until the plumber gets in there, puts in all of his plumbing. Then I want the foundation guy to do the backfill on top of the plumber. And then the plumber isn't screwing up, adding too much dirt to the whole thing. And the foundation guy isn't screwing up and doing the backfill before the plumber comes in.
Yeah.
And it's very clear about when you go to backfill, here's the grade we need to be at. Because what Alex is getting at is like I had to go in with a track hoe and like scrape off maybe 3 inches of dirt it was too high, right? And it just made me grading for the slabs that are gonna happen 2 times the work, really, or like a little more work than that. But that doesn't make me think that I would switch to a crawl space though.
Well, here's why I'm thinking crawl space is because basically the concrete's done and they came and backfilled it, and then the plumbers had to come and dig out. And I understand why the plumbers have to dig out is because not everything is at the lowest grade. There was slopes to it, so I was like, okay, how else would you do that?
I even asked the plumbers also if they wanted to do their work before it was backfilled originally, and then they said no.
And I understand why, because some of it is only a foot down, and then some goes 2 foot down. So how would you have something suspended up in the air and then fill around it later?
There you go.
So knowing that you backfill, then you dig out, then you put things on top, it makes me think like, just crawl space.
It could have been yeah.
Just crawl space.
Maybe it should be crawl space too, because the other thing the crawl space would have allowed us to do is we wouldn't have to bring in as much fill dirt as we're still going to have to bring in, I would say, about 1,000 cubic yards of fill dirt, which is not that expensive. It's actually pretty cheap. I can give you a quote. It's about $2,500.
Yep.
So I'm a contractor now, and I know these.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest probably positives of the whole thing is like I feel so much more confident about telling people what things should cost. Like if people come to us and they say, let's say they're a homeowner, and God bless them, they're going to be the contractor for their own job, and they start talking about budget and stuff like that. And then I can just flat out tell them like, here's the reality of what things cost. And so, the only way you can get a concrete slab done for this amount per square foot is if you do this, like we did on this project. And the credibility is the biggest thing. But back to the crawl space. I think that would be one of the reasons why. Yeah, let's just do a crawl space. It seems easier because there'd be a lot less work in a way.
Yep.
So it does make more sense. It makes more sense now that we're there. But there's some things we still would have had slabs on grade for, Al.
Well, I know exactly.
Right. The garage. There's no way around that.
Well, the 2 things that I stamped out, that would have been the same because they're all garages on those units.
Yep.
On all that side. One building is all garages. So
it's a trade-off. It's a total trade-off, just like anything.
Well, here's the trade-off also. On the planning side, if we were going to have crawl space, we would have had to do another review. They were so concerned about it being a crawl space because of water and all this other stuff. So I don't know. Saved us some time and money on that side.
Yep. I don't know if you're going to ask me this, but I'm just going to tell you. The other things that I've learned is on this so far is, and this should be obvious, but you don't assume anything. Don't assume. And here's an example. The example is, so I go out to the job site last week, and I talk to my plumbers, and I'm like, hey, this is all sewer, right? Just double checking. Everything you guys have put in so far is sewer. When are we gonna put in the water line? when are we at least just stub it in? Just so it's there, and then we can go from building to street later. And they actually want to do it later, and because of frost and all this other stuff. And he goes, so I called the lead sub for that, and I was like, well, I need to pour slabs. I mean, we're ready to frame in 2 weeks. He's like, just leave me a 3x3 hole. Or a 3x3 like opening.
And that's what I thought too.
Yeah, Al actually had the idea first. He's like, well, what if we just formed out a 3x3 area and we left the dirt? And the plumber was like, yeah, that'll be fine. And then the plumbers who were on the site go, that's crazy. We're not going to do that. And he literally did. He goes, and I go, I thought it was kind of crazy. I mean, I like the idea, and I like that you guys are like, yeah, we'll just make it work. All right, cool, yeah, because it seems like that's one thing I appreciate about all these guys. They're like, we'll just make it work.
Yeah.
Everybody's positive like that. So then I showed up on the job site, not yesterday, the day before, and I was like, what's up with this big hole?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, well, we decided we're going to put the water all in there now. And I go, okay, that's fine. And so don't assume anything. So don't assume that we should do that or we shouldn't do that. I think it was good that I brought it up, because then it was the catalyst for them moving in that direction. We need to do it anyway. And then the second thing that it maybe sort of reinforced with me is like, you just keep staying calm, Lance. I don't know if you noticed it, but my hair has gotten a little grayer since it started. It literally has. Yeah. Like I look in the mirror and I'm like, wow, I think I'm gonna get maybe 5% grayer after doing this, because I'm losing sleep at night. But not all the time.
Know why I like that advice?
Which one?
Don't assume anything. Because now you're operating at a different level. And this is what I mean, because we've talked about some of these issues. If you think, they have it taken care of, right? They're going to know the right level heights. They're going to know this. They're going to know that. And then all of a sudden they do it and it's wrong. Gray hair, losing sleep. What's going to happen? How do we do that? Now, here's a couple examples that literally happened. Heights of foundation levels. Heights of backfills of dirts. If you assume that you just got to check everything when they're laying that out, it's on the drawings. It's on the drawings. That doesn't mean anything. Go out there and be like, okay, guys, so we're going to this height, right? And they'll say yes or no. And they'll say, no, we're going to go to this height. Well, let's look. Putting the backfill in. Okay, guys, we're going to go to this height, even though it's on the drawings, So just like that fundamental shift of your perspective is like, no, I'm not assuming anything. Everything I'm just checking.
Just checking.
I think you just have to, right?
That's where the just checking is okay. It needs to be sort of casual and friendly.
Yeah.
To get him to do the right thing. So the last thing is, this is an interesting...
Even depths of stuff, right? You just got to switch your mind.
Did I tell you when we first laid out the foundations, and I got out there and I was like, how's it going, Chencho? And he goes, good. And he's like, well, this is how I'm supposed to lay out the buildings, right? I'm like, nope, you got them flipped. So it's like, he's like, oh, good, okay. He wasn't angry, he made the wrong assumption, which is fine.
Yep.
Don't assume it, because we would have had some flip buildings. And there's been multiple times, like even after the foundation was poured, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stop by the job site. And, yep, okay, they're poured the right way.
Yeah,
but it's like nonstop second guessing. But so far, so good.
But it's so true. It's not like these guys haven't done it before. I think it's just something that needs to be done, even in framing. Who knows if for some reason they're flipping where the stairs should be? I mean, they probably won't do that because there's foundation and stuff like that. But you know what I'm talking about. There's something that they just might flip, might think differently. So Lance, like, hey, just checking. Just checking. I'm the just checking guy.
Yep, exactly. For the framing, this is an interesting one. I'm going to do. If you ever, maybe you've seen this on other job sites, like you can get your drawings printed on a colored paper. I'm going to make sure that for the framing, because I saw you were in the file the other day messing with those windows, weren't you? The ones we talked about above the TV.
I didn't change anything. I was in there looking at
need to
stuff.
do that today. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm going to print out just the framing plans. Or like the architectural floor plans and the structural plans on green paper. Yeah. And I'm going to tell the framers, do not look at the other ones that are approved for permit, because there's been some field changes and stuff like that. Windows have changed. Like, this is the ones you pay attention to.
Nice.
Only that. And then go over it with them. The other cool thing is we have lumber coming in hopefully at the end of next week. And I will be out there with like a forklift machine type thing. I forget what the heck it's called, but it's like the off-road ones with a lift, and I'll be out there just sorting lumber like the whole time and just laying it out for them, like, here's where it goes, just concentrate on these ones, start on these buildings and stuff like that. Last thing, this is an interesting one. So I asked the plumbers yesterday. They had the drawings open, and you saw what they're doing out there, putting in all the waste lines underneath the buildings and stuff. And I go, how do you? They had a drawing up where it's on the big building, and it shows like where the toilet's going to be and the sink on that first floor, right, Al? And that drawing was done by a plumbing engineer and is at a 1/2 inch to a foot. I don't even think you know about this. And I go, there's no dimensions on these. Would it be more helpful if we do this again if there's dimensions right to the center of the pipe? And he goes, well, yeah, of course. And I go, well, how do you guys do it now? And he goes, we just hold a tape up there, and do the 1/2 inch to a foot. So on these multifamily projects, it would be a good idea if we talk to the plumbers, the plumbing engineers, when we review drawings and say, hey, can you put some dimensions from the outside of, from like the edge of the foundations or whatever, because that's all they're showing. And they're showing these underground things. If we do a lot of slab on grade stuff, put some dimensions to the center of these pipes for these guys.
Yeah.
Super helpful. And again, super obvious.
Yep.
But would not have. And the plumbers are like, we can get it done, but they're like, yeah, it would make it. It would save a little bit of time. It would be less guesswork, and we just make it happen.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too: if you're getting multiple bids, if you have clear, concise, awesome drawings, it might give you a little credit in their eyes.
Yep.
So.
These guys aren't dopes.
Awesome. So should we go to the high five master, Nick, for Nick Reads?
Absolutely.
Hello, best friends. I hope you all had a great week this week. A reading from our powerful, poetic experiences of nature. Rocks and sunlight are born the dreams for a shelter of our own, with rooflines sculpted like mountains and smoky stone chimneys like trees. These two inventions together form the home's sheltering crown. Of all the structural components at our disposal for the creation of houses, roofs are paramount in importance. Their forms attend to our deepest desires for safety and shelter. In the nature of these materials and their sweeping lines are gestures that our eyes follow from the lowest wave to the highest peak. In our roofs lie meaning and mood, too. Jeffrey Dungan, The Nature of Home. A question. The mountains or the beach? Al and Lance, have a grand weekend. Toodles.
I don't know, man. I don't
Really?
know.
I'll tell you.
What?
Beach.
Yeah, probably. Because we live in the mountains. I can go there all the time. I go there all the time. Beach life. How about pool at beach life?
Pool at beach life?
Yeah. So you have your living room. I want tall ceilings. I want a nano wall. Then I want to walk right into a pool.
I'll tell you.
And then infinity wall to look at the beach.
I'll do you one up. Just how
Try
about
me.
How about Italy? How about you just go have both? How about you go to Cinque Terre, which is a series of fishing villages. It's where I honeymooned at. It's like 5 of them. Coolest place. That you get the best of both worlds. Like literally, you see the old school vineyards and tomato vines and all that other stuff. These amazing hikes. The best food ever. Literally the best food ever. I've never had better pesto in my life. So I want that, both mountains and the beach. I'm greedy.
There you go. That's probably why they don't work.
Joke, people. Joking.
Okay, awesome. Should we get the boys in for A.R.E. Jeopardy?
Let's do it.
What is the fire-resistant rating of a Type 5B, not A, B exterior bearing wall that is 30 feet, that has 30 feet fire separation? A, 0, B, 1/2, C, 2, D, 1. A0, B1/2, C2, D1. All right, ACA. So A was 0, which is normally your type 5B, but exterior, even within 30 feet, you have to be at 1. So that's D, not C.
What is the fire resistance rating of a Type 5B exterior bearing wall? Don't you mean what is the needed fire? Like, shouldn't we be asking what do you need? What kind of fire resistance rating do you need if it's at a wall that has a 30-foot fire separation?
It's same question, worded different ways, because the rating or needed is the same answer. It's called the fire resistant rating, which is 1 for 1 hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, question 2.
Nobody got that?
No one got that.
Wow.
Do you have a mark?
Do you have a marker? Absolutely, I got a marker.
There you go. Okay, what is a boundary element of a diaphragm or shear wall, which is assumed to resist axial stresses, analogous to flange of a beam called? Okay. A, diaphragm. B, shear line. C, beam diagram. D, diaphragm cord.
Al's pulling out the
And congratulations to
heavy
Mark
hitters
Pedler
today.
that just passed his 3rd test yesterday.
Oh, hey, congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah. B, A, B. The answer is D, diaphragm cord. So the first question, why I did the first one, is because, okay, everyone from table of 503, I can't remember. Anyways, you could get your type 5, what your walls are. But literally on a page or 2 over, it says the fire separation distance, which will probably up it, depending on where your building is. So just know that.
So what's the score?
Goose eggs. Bunch of goose eggs.
Wow, mine are easy today compared to Al's. Number 3, what is the convention relating to door swing used when ordering door hardware known as? A, hand of door. B, swing side. C, swing direction. D, hardware side. Yes, absolutely. Repeat the question. What is the convention relating to door swing used when ordering door hardware known as? A, hand of door. B, swing side. C, swing direction. D, hardware side. We have D, A. Congratulations, Mark Pedler, A.
You know what's so funny? Every one, B, C, and D, are better terms than hand of door.
Hand of door is terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Hand of door, yep. All right, here we go. Yep. Number 4, what is an elevator operated by traction in which steel cables with counterweights raise or lower the elevator car known as? A, hydraulic elevator. B, electric elevator. C, pneumatic elevator. D, track elevator. Shall I repeat it? What is an elevator operated by traction in which steel cables with counterweights raise or lower the elevator car known as? A, hydraulic elevator. B, electric elevator. C, pneumatic elevator. D, track elevator. D, C, C. You're all incorrect. The correct answer is electric elevator, which to me makes no sense because I know. No. Well, actually, no. So, look, here's why I think. I think in this one, right, is think about an elevator in your head, right? If you're looking at it in this section, what is making those counterweights go up and down, right? So it's like a series of gears and stuff above, right? Housed by an electric motor. So that's why you could extrapolate that. Remember, there are gas, sort of, right? Pneumatic elevators. Like, you can go up to 5 stories, I think, with them. Is it the boom can extend from the bottom, right? So there's hydraulic, yep. So they're pneumatic. Right, pneumatic and hydraulic, same thing. It was sort of a trick question. We can go up from the bottom. So, and then a track elevator is like the sides of the car are attached to it, right? So.
There we go. Well, if you like the podcast, go to RevitRocketship.com. Learn yourself some Revit. Guaranteed or your money back. Take a look at that webpage, and it should be able to give you a good insight of what's going on. And that's all I got.
Help us get Help us move up from number 29 on the list of 71 architecture podcasts via architecturequote.com. Help us move from 29 up to the top 10 by leaving us a 5-star review, going on the website, interacting, because apparently the SEO ranking is part of that, as well as the downloads, and share it with a friend.